So Moby Dick, if you've ever wanted to read this one, you can join me. Hey guys, welcome to my favorite video of the month, and I'm going to be doing a summer TBR slash June TBR. Most of these books I'm hoping to get to in June. There might be a few that carry over into July. We will see. And because it feels like summer out there today, I have what is it? I think it's like a raspberry like bubbly type thing. But you know what makes carbonated drinks taste better? Like the carbonated water? Adding sugar. So I added some like rhubarb syrup to it. Yeah, not the healthiest thing, but it's cooling me off. So lately I've been really big into mood reading. I pretty much like threw most of my May TBR out the window. I'm okay with that for the most part, but I do want to try to keep this TBR on the smaller side so that I don't make a TBR and then ignore half the books. Like I said, I'm okay with it, but it kind of also bothers me, if that makes sense. If I say I'm going to read a book, I want to try to, but if I'm not in the mood, I'd rather wait until I am in the mood for that book. And that's kind of what has been happening lately. So I'm hoping to just have a smaller TBR so I can have time to read those and do lots of mood reading throughout the month. Now, there are a couple books that I need to read. The first thing I've been doing all this last year, like the last few years, is doing my Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which is a year-long challenge with monthly prompts. And this month, I believe, I left my paper upstairs, so I believe that we are supposed to read a book, because this year, every month we're playing off of the book we read before. So for June, we're supposed to be reading a book that has half as many letters in the title as our May book. So in May, I read / I'm still reading, not sure if I'm actually going to finish, or if I'm going to DNF, what's it called? Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell. And if memory serves me correctly, that book has 23 characters, which is an odd number. So then I was like, well, let's use the ampersand as a character. So then I'm looking for a book that has half that, which would be 12 letters. I'm also still having throat issues. Actually, this morning my voice was like pretty much gone. So that's how I'll justify this sugary drink. Okay, so it may seem hard to fathom, but with all the books that I have on my TBR here, it was really hard to find a book that had 12 characters, but I think I found one. The Outsiders. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. So this is what I'm going to be reading for the month of June for my Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. This is a popular classic that people love that I don't really know anything about, but I've heard really good things, so we're going to give this a try for June. And it's nice and short, which is good because last month's book was, I think mine was like just over 1,000 pages. So a short one would be nice. And I mean, this cover is nice and vintage. Pretty cool. So this is what I'm going to be reading in June for that. Then every month over on my Patreon, I pick a person from my Windy Poplars tier to be my patron of the month, and they get to choose a book off of either my TBR shelf or my wish list for me to read in the month of June. And this month, my patron of the month chose for me to read They Do It With Mirrors, and this is a Miss Marple book that I have not read. I think it's one of the few of her books of Miss Marple's stories that I have left, and I don't know anything about it. It was previously published as Murder with Mirrors. A lot of Agatha Christie's books have been published under multiple names. It gets very confusing. It's a very, very short blurb here on the back, so we'll read this. Hopefully it doesn't get too much into spoilers like some do. Miss Marple senses danger when she visits a friend living in Stony Gates, a rehabilitation center. Her fears are confirmed when someone shoots at the administrator. Although he is not injured, a mysterious visitor is less fortunate, shot dead simultaneously in another part of the building. Pure coincidence? Miss Marple thinks not, and must use all her cunning to solve the riddle of the stranger's visit and his murder. So, this sounds fun. I always love Miss Marple. She's my favorite. I really want to make or buy a shirt with like Miss Marple on it, just like this sweet lady knitting in a rocking chair, but then like also has some kind of like mystery elements behind her, like a magnifying glass and that kind of thing. We'll see if I can ever make one or get my hands on one. So that's my second book that I'm going to be reading. That will probably be a fairly quick read because her books are so great. And then I haven't done like an official announcement video yet. Maybe that will be coming in June. But in July, I am starting a trial run of a book club here on YouTube. And in July, we are going to be reading and talking about Moby Dick. Holly from Lovely Day with Holly will be co-hosting this with me. And she's the one that picked this off of my TBR list, which is great because I do want to read this book. But it's also like not great because it's huge. But I would have put it off forever. I mean, it's not that big actually. It's just over 500 pages with small font, but this one seems daunting. But I thought I would start it maybe like mid-June so I can finish it by the end of July without frantically having to read very quickly at the end. So if you want to join in with this book club, more details will be coming, but it will just be here on YouTube. And this is what we're going to be reading about and discussing. We'll discuss it sometime at the end of July. So Moby Dick, if you've ever wanted to read this one, you can join me. So these are the 3 books that I have to read / start in June. There's one book that I would really like to do a video specifically on. Like I don't do a whole lot of reading vlogs that are like specifically about a book, but there's one book that I would like to do one on and I will show it to you. It is Unfinished Portrait by Mary Westmacott, also known as Agatha Christie. So this is a romance story that she wrote under the pen. She wrote a few, I don't know how many, romance novels under the name Mary Westmacott. Wow. I think, well, I'm not a romance reader to begin with, so there's that. But I think this would be a funny one to vlog reading. So that's what I'm going to do at some point through June. Read this and share my thoughts, and I have a feeling they might be kind of cringy. So I would like to get to this one in June. Those will be my like priority books. And then I'm going to pull out my cards that I've made for my TBRs and have been using for the last few months. And there are a few other books that I'm going to be reading as well. So I have 3 different stacks of cards. This one that is all blue is specific books that my patrons have recommended to me for me to read. So I'm gonna pull at least one of these out. I'm just gonna pull one this month actually. I said I'm keeping this small. Then I have this, I think these ones are all red. These are just random prompts that will make me pick a book off of my TBR. And then these ones are just activities that maybe won't make me read a book, but are fun things to do or might result in a video. So I'm gonna pick one of each of these today. And then we're also going to do a random number generator and pick one of my books to unwrap. So why don't we start with my Patreon specific book recommendations here. The stack is pretty large. A lot of these I've never heard of. Some of them I have. Let's just pick a random one. Let's kind of go to the middle here. What's this say? Oh, I actually read this one. Shatona recommended The Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp, and I read it in May, so my review of this will be coming soon. That's going kind of cool. I do recommend that book. But let's pick a different one. Let's go to this kind of side here. Where the Forest Meets the Stars. I've never heard of this one, I don't think. I need to look up the cover here. I'm gonna look that up. Robin recommended that one, and she has recommended, she's the one that recommended I read Mrs. Polifax, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm trusting Robin's recommendation here. Where the Forest Meets the Stars. Let's look this up. According to the tags on Goodreads, whoa, it's got a 4.14 rating. When was this published? 2019. It's fiction, contemporary, mystery, romance, fantasy, magic realism. Yeah, so it's kind of all over here. It says, after the loss of her mother and her own battle with breast cancer, Joanna Teal returns to her graduate research on nesting birds in rural Illinois, determined to prove that her recent hardships have not broken her. Sounds interesting. So I'll get my hands on that. Okay, let's go to the prompts that will lead me to a book. This is my biggest stack here, so there's so many. Let's 6 or more words in the title, and this one was suggested by Elise. 6 or more words in the title. Okay. So I've got so many wrapped ones, but I don't know what those are, so I gotta go over here. I do also have like a stack of books on the floor that I could look through as well. Apparently I don't have a ton that have 6 or more words in the title. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that one does. I have another stack of books that I was like, they were possibilities for my 7 books in 7 days vlog that I did on Patreon. This one is The Heart Reader of Franklin High. This one has 6 words. It looks like this is the one I'm going to go with. The Heart Reader of Franklin High by Terry Blackstock. This one I think is maybe, well, it says general contemporary fiction. It's going to be Christian fiction. And I think it's maybe like supernatural type. One minute he was snoring in his bed, the next minute he was having the strangest dream. And now, well, now Jake is hearing things. Voices from people all around him. Yeah, so I think this is supernatural fiction of some sort, which is interesting because I think I've only read Terry Blackstock's suspense books. Like, does she has this one, and then I think this one is also another short one that is also supernatural suspense, The Gifted. But I think this is they're the only 2 that she's written like this. So that will be my book for 6 or more words in the title. Now we're gonna pick an activity. These are kind of broad activities having to do with books in some way. Let's pick one of these ones. This is from Charlene, and I knew this card was in here. I forgot about it. I was really worried this was going to come up last month though, when I was making a very big TBR and not finishing my books. Now Charlene, she has said, unhaul 1 book per book on your TBR that you don't finish this month. So this is extra motivation for me to keep my TBR small, which, okay, well, hey, Moby Dick doesn't count because I did say that one I am supposed to finish in July. I'm just starting it this month. But all my other books are actually very short so far, so hopefully this one doesn't come back to bite me. So those are all the books other than my one unwrap book. A wrapped book I'm going to unwrap. There we go. This is a much smaller TBR than normal, but like I said, that's what I want for June. If I were to show you like all the books I was interested in reading right now, I think it would be a different set of books that I actually read at the end of the month, which is what is happening in May anyway. And I don't know if people are interested in that, like, just curious. Not sure this will really sway my reading or picking up my TBRs in general, but do you like it when you watch someone create a TBR / pile of possibilities and they read those exact books that month? Or are you okay if they read other books? Okay, I'm trying to find a random number generator. I can't do multiple things at once. Okay, so I've got 50 books on here, although number 26 has 2 books and number 11 is gone. So we're gonna generate here right away. 1 through 50? 15. Number 15, oh, it's a fairly small one, actually. It's thinner than a lot of them on my shelf. So, let's open this up. I don't know what it is, I didn't see it. Oh, okay. The Children's Blizzard. Now, this one, I'm definitely not in the mood for right now. Interesting. It's historical fiction about a blizzard that actually happened in Dakota Territory, and school teachers were faced with an impossible decision. Keep the children inside to risk freezing to death when fuel ran out, or send them home praying they wouldn't get lost in the storm. I've actually heard good things about this. This is a very weird book to be reading in June, as we're like getting warm, but that's, maybe I'll feel like feeling cold. So we'll give this a try. So these books, plus I don't know how long Where the Forest Meets the Stars is. That's gonna be my TBR for June, and then I'm just going to spend some more time mood reading, and the Moby Dick one I will just hopefully get some progress made in. Let me know what you plan on reading in June. Are you also reading a wintry book, or is that just gonna be me this month? I would love to hear it.